Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully you can see me okay and hear me okay. We'll just let some more people are still joining, so we'll just let them get here before we get started. But welcome to today's webinar. So we're going to be talking about maintaining well-being while working from home today. So we'll let a few more people join. So before we get started, I kind of want to go over just a few things so that people know how to participate in today's event. So I've just taken a screenshot of an example of the attendee interface. So you should see something that looks like this on your own computer desktop in the upper right hand corner. So it's just letting you know that you're listening in using your computer's audio by default and that you'll be muted for the duration of the webinar. But you'll still have the opportunity to submit any text questions or comments or anything in that questions panel that's shown there. You can do that anytime during the webinar, and I'll just pause at certain points and try and answer those questions for you. There also are some handouts that are available that you should be able to access on this control panel. These are just offering you some additional information just about some of the things that we'll be talking about today, and included in those is a toolkit that we wrote on managing mental health during the coronavirus. That goes into more detail about some of the things that we'll be mentioning today, as well as a transitioning booklet that talks about transitioning to working from home. So I would definitely encourage you to have a look at some of those. And you can download these during the webinar, but they'll also be available on the website under our news and events tab. And there's information on all of the webinars in this series and all our previous webinars as well on there. So if you're watching a recording of this webinar and you want to get hold of the handouts at a later date, you'll still be able to, so you can access those on our website. So I would just want to introduce myself now. So my name is Dr. Heather Meikle. I'm a counselling psychologist and I also work as a clinical projects officer at First Psychology Scotland. So I've worked at First Psychology for 2 years. So first as a student, finishing off my doctorate, and then as a practitioner delivering one-to-one therapy. And now I do both delivering therapy and also in developing other resources for clients and businesses. So it includes this webinar series. So I'd be really keen to get your feedback about what you've enjoyed or what we could improve about this at the end. So in today's webinar, we're going to look at the psychological impact of working from home and how we can positively adapt to this transition away from the office that might be continuing for some time. So it's become apparent throughout lockdown that transitioning from working in an office to working from home is having a really significant positive and negative impact on people's mental health. So some of you might really be enjoying the flexibility that comes from working from home, choosing your own working hours, having more autonomy on how and when you get tasks done. Maybe you really enjoy going to work in your sweatpants and your slippers. Maybe it's about saving money on your commute, or maybe having more time to do the things that you're interested in. Maybe if you don't have to travel so far or spend so much time commuting, you've got time to get in more exercise or cooking or spending time with your family. Or maybe you work better at home and finding some freedom from the distractions of other people working in a big busy office has been really helpful for you. But on the other hand, obviously, it can also be really stressful to be working from home and being free from that structure that the office gives us. So you might be feeling more feelings of stress, anxiety, loneliness, or depression from things like not having a strict routine, not having a dedicated quality workspace, not seeing your colleagues, not getting that opportunity to have spontaneous collaborations or innovations with people, just less human interaction in general. You're maybe not seeing people in your train on the commute and the coffee that you get in the cafe before work. So just that general not having as much human interaction. Or you might be struggling to separate your work from home life. Maybe you're actually working more now than you ever did when you worked in an office, and that's causing you some additional stress. So there might be some other things that you miss most about not being in the office. So let me know in that questions panel on your attendee interface some of the things that you miss the most, and I can share them and we can see if other people are feeling the same way as well. So some of the most cited things that people miss about the office when they're working from home tends to be having a dedicated workspace, having a routine, and seeing colleagues. So I just want to do a quick poll. So I just want to find out what it is that you miss most. So if it's having a dedicated workspace, having a routine, seeing colleagues, or if it's something else, just click the response that best fits and press submit. If you have pressed other, like please do let me know, like I want to hear what it is that you miss the most. And I'll just close the poll in a few moments. So just go ahead and respond and let me know what it is that you miss. If you've clicked other, let me know. Maybe it's the commute that you miss more. Maybe that's like the most relaxing part of your day. Maybe it's the coffee. Maybe you just don't have as good coffee at home. So let me know and I'll share that in a wee moment. So I'm just going to close the poll just now and I'll just share the results with everyone. So it looks like the majority of you are missing your colleagues the most. That's the most popular one, but also, yeah, having a bit of a dedicated workspace, having a routine. Some of you have clicked others, so do let me know and I can hopefully help answer some of those questions as well. So somebody said missing having regular space and time for my own brain space away from family or chores. Yeah, so actually maybe just getting out of the house and not having to worry about maybe all of the other things that are going on in the house that you're maybe worrying about. Just some time to compartmentalize different parts of your life maybe. So I'm going to ask you another question just so I can see where everyone is at just now. So I just want to know how confident you're feeling right now about working from home, say for the foreseeable future. So someone else has mentioned that for them, the frustration of not being able to work effectively because their phones haven't been switched through and they're relying on email communication is one of the things they miss about the office. Well, that must be so frustrating. Nothing is faster than just picking up the phone, is it? Having to rely on emails, not the best. It's a shame when technology doesn't quite translate like that through working from home. So if you've not selected your response, just do that now and I'll close the poll in a moment. Okay, so I'm just going to close the poll just now and I'll share the results with everyone. So there is a good chunk of you feeling somewhat confident or very confident, and still about a quarter of people maybe not feeling very confident or somewhere in the middle. So hopefully that's a bit of room for improvement and you'll still be able to get something out of this. If there's anything in particular that you want me to discuss, do let me know in the questions panel. This has just given me a bit of an idea of where people are coming from, so I can try and make this as helpful as it can be. So hopefully we can get you all to feel a little bit more confident. So we've got some other good comments about what people are missing most. We've got missing the contrast of life and appreciating your friends and family when you come home. Yes. We do have a really good webinar that we did at the start of lockdown on kind of managing relationship conflict during lockdown that you might find interesting because certainly I think some relationships may be under strain. And not being able to get as much support from directors and managers and things, especially if you're just starting out in your career or you're new to a position, not having that really close support, I suppose the word I'm looking for. Just easy to access. Zoom calls, yeah, are a bit of a pain, and you end up getting so many scheduled in the one day. So I just want to quickly move on. So we've got plenty of time to get through everything. But thank you for all these comments, they're really helpful. So how can you positively adapt from working from home? Well, I think one of the big things for me anyway was how I perceive my working from home situation. So for the longest time, most of lockdown really, I thought of working from home as something that was very temporary, something I didn't really have to invest in because, it'd be over by the end of summer, of course. Obviously, as things have continued on, I've realised that, it's going to be a much more permanent or maybe a more long-term change. But that change of perception about my lockdown situation has been important for me to start investing more in working from home rather than just making do and kind of waiting for it to be over. And it is making things a lot easier and a bit more enjoyable for me because I'm spending more of my energy on improving my right now, rather than suffering and kind of waiting for things to go back to normal. So when I'm talking through some of the things that you can do to make working from home a more positive experience, I might ask you to invest some time or energy or resources into bringing this about. So hopefully you're up for it. So we're just going to try and increase your awareness then of some of the elements of working from home that can negatively impact your mental health, especially as we move into winter, and how to sort of adapt your working from home practices to best manage these. So hopefully it'll give you a chance to reflect, get some new ideas. But if none of this sounds relevant, do let me know if you've got any kind of particular concerns, and I'll try and adapt things to that. So one of the best things about going into an office is that you can often count on there being really good internet, really good technology. The phones are all hooked up, as you said, really good desks, good desk chairs. There's maybe more space to move around. So whether that's like within your office or in your building, maybe you have more opportunity to move around into different areas, into meeting rooms, breakout rooms, social spaces. You might not have that opportunity at home. And hopefully maybe you wouldn't have any children or pets kind of running about demanding your attention. So if you're living in a smaller flat or you share your home with family, pets, roommates, you might find the lack of a good quality private workspace really impacts on your productivity or your mood or your stress levels when you're working from home. So what can you do? So let me know your suggestions. Really interested to know how you're adapting, and let me know. I can share that, and everyone else might find it helpful as well. But some of the things I came up with so far is getting comfortable. So, just because you're not in an office doesn't mean you can't kind of have a home office. If you can, if you've got space for that, rather than cooping yourself up in your room or on the couch, which are spaces that are more associated with leisure time, try and dedicate a specific room or a surface in your home to work. I'm sure all of you have already heard all that before. At this point of lockdown, if you've not done so already, do try and invest in a good chair, a good desk, a good quality internet connection. Think about how when you have a comfortable, inviting workstation at the office, how nice that is, and try and replicate this at home. So what things would you look for if you were sort of picking out your dream office? You might consider getting plants inside. Maybe that gives you more of a kind of comfortable feeling. Maybe you want to locate your workspace near a window, get a view, just kind of make yourself feel like there are other people outside in the world, not just you stuck in your bubble. Maybe you like to have really nice pictures up. And also make sure everything that you need is close by: books, printers, pens, paper, whatever you use. Somebody said they brought a proper desk and a gym ball to sit on. Keeps backache at bay. I like that idea. That kind of like one of those big like yoga ball things. That'd be very bouncy. I like it. If that works for you, that's fantastic. That might keep you more active during the day as well. It can also be quite good if you can get a private space. If you can kind of shut your workspace off from the rest of the house, that can remove some of the distractions that you typically have at home, like the urge to clean the kitchen from top to bottom, or do laundry, or watch TV, or get loads of snacks. And you might want to upgrade your workspace with some creature comforts. It might be like a really good sound system. If you love listening to music, but you couldn't do that in the office, or if you love really great artwork, or a coffee machine. See if you really miss the coffee at work, or maybe the coffee at work was terrible. You just want to upgrade your own coffee. That could be a really nice kind of luxury item to have. Or someone said buying yourself flowers to cheer yourself up. I love that. Just having something beautiful can kind of really impact on your mood and how you feel about your workspace. You can also research things like apps or software that can help you organize your day, or maybe remind yourself just to get up and walk about or communicate with your friends better. Investing in working from home like it's something you're planning on doing for a long time really makes it like much better. Someone says that their pet is never a distraction. It's just nice and comfortable. That sounds great. Very envious. And someone else has asked a wee question on staying focused and motivated when you're spending days on end staring at a computer. So hopefully we'll get to that. Hopefully we'll kind of answer that as we go along, but if I don't, let me know. So avoiding other distractions, like social media as well, can be quite important when working from home. So social media is designed obviously to make it really easy for us to open it, browse it quickly, but at work, obviously this can be quite detrimental to our productivity, and that can make us feel more stress or guilt. You might be like, oh no, I've just spent the last 20 minutes on Instagram, I should have been getting all this work done. So take a look at your own social media use, notice which apps are the biggest culprits for you, keeping you checking them again and again, and think about what might be a more appropriate use of them during your workday. So for me, it's TikTok. I could watch TikTok videos for hours. I absolutely cannot watch just one or two. So for me, that is an app I just can't look at during work hours. But I do use other apps like Facebook, Messenger, and Instagram just to keep up with friends and family, and I'm much better at checking these less frequently. But I do enjoy the social interaction I get from these because they can really improve my mood during my workday. So I do schedule myself in some kind of social media breaks throughout my workday so I can still keep in touch but not be completely distracted. So it is important not to deprive yourself of anything that does have a positive impact on your mental health, but it's equally important to recognise when you can have too much of a good thing to the extent that it's maybe becoming harmful. So do be very mindful, very honest with yourself when you look at possibly changing your behaviour around social media. Make sure you're making choices that are good for you. And maintaining work-life boundaries. So more important than ever, I think, when you're working in your home space. Boundaries are the psychological barriers between our life at home and our life at work. So creating a separation between activities that are work-related and those that aren't is really important. And as a key advantage if you can have a dedicated workspace, because then you can create sort of a physical distance by actually, physically separating the space that can let you focus on work and allow you to leave the office when you need to, sort of turn off your computer, stop working. That can also be really important when it comes to work emails. Many of us will be getting those to our personal phones. I am definitely guilty of that, but it can make it a lot more difficult to switch off after work. So you might want to think about setting an away from work response maybe on your emails and turning off all your notifications out with working hours. That can be a really helpful way of sort of delineating what is work time and what is personal time. The same may go for work group chats, just saying. So you might also want to do an activity that clearly signifies, the beginning and end of your workday. Someone's mentioned they do a daily walk every day. Great idea. That can be good, instead of just sort of getting up, getting dressed and going straight down to your desk, go for a walk first. Or after you finish work, walk the dog and maybe try and have like separate that work time and that personal time out a bit more. So that brings us quite nicely on to this next point, sticking to a routine. So a good routine is not just important at the start and end of a workday to help us, maintain a good balance between work and personal time, but all sorts of other aspects of an office structure or routine can be really important in supporting our mental health when we're working from home, especially. So, going to an office can give us like a time to wake up, time to leave the house, time to travel, time to have breaks, time to have meals, exercise time, especially if you're starting work or going to the gym before work, going to the gym after work, time to relax and time to go to sleep. Now, the body and brain really need routines like these. So you might all be familiar with things like, your circadian rhythms, your sleep cycles, and they are really important. So is eating times, making sure you have the same routines in eating. Our brains are programmed to have basic daily cycles, whether that's work, activity, sleeping, eating. And when these daily routines are disrupted, certain systems in the brain can become imbalanced, and that can lead to more mood changes, anxiety, tiredness, and poor work performance. So maintaining the basics of a daily routine, including staying consistent with sleep cycles, regular meals, exercise, are really important when you're working from home. And if you think during a pandemic where things are so beyond our control, there's so much or so little predictability, even things are changing all the time, exerting some control and familiarity by sticking to a schedule can be quite comforting, especially if you've got kind of young or elderly people in your life. So what are some of the things that you can have in your routine to sort of maximize the benefits? So someone's mentioned going for a walk every day. I would definitely say sleep. Sleep is so up there. Do what you need to do to protect your sleep is so important. Set yourself a bedtime, actually stick to it as well. This can be quite challenging, but it is well worth the effort. Practice good sleep hygiene. Don't use your screens right before bed, all of those things. There's more information about things like that in our coronavirus booklet and probably in some of our other booklets as well, actually. If you find waking up in the morning difficult when you're not heading out to work, I know I do, you can try some strategies that night owls use to become better morning people. So you might reward yourself for waking up with like a motivating playlist or a really good cup of coffee that's ready at the same time you are, if you've got one of those coffee machines that's got like a timer on it. You could wake yourself up more naturally with a natural daylight lamp, getting some exercise, fresh air in the first thing in the morning. Or if none of that sounds appealing to you and you still really struggle to get out of bed, you could do what I sometimes have to do and program a really obnoxious alarm that requires you to answer a mass question. These apps do exist. To turn it off and then put it all the way across the room. You will not wake up in a good mood, but you will wake up. Not the best idea. Some of you have said preparing your lunch in advance, meeting your husband for lunch every day when you're working from home. That's nice. Have a dedicated lunch hour. Yeah, like a company-wide hour of screen-free time over lunch. We'll like that. Going for a walk at the start and end of the workday, like your commute. Yep, great idea. Getting ready as well. I don't know where you all are at and you're getting dressed for working from home. Sometimes the prospect of staying in pajamas all day is the most tantalizing thing about working from home, but actually washing and getting dressed can improve your state of mind. It'll psychologically prepare you to start work. Whether you need to change into business attire, though, does depend on the type of person you are, the nature of job that you have. Some people find that dressing formally is helpful and also useful if you need to dial into video calls. You might not need to wear a suit, but do dress to be active. That can make it easier to take breaks, go outside for a walk because you're already dressed for it. And someone's already mentioned this, commuting. Yeah, such a great idea. How do we switch on and off from work when we're not commuting anymore? So kind of keep your routine the same as it would be for work, getting up at the same time, getting washed, getting dressed, having breakfast and commuting, but use that time, like somebody else already said, go for a walk, maybe you listen to the radio or a podcast or read a book, and at the end of the day, try and do the same thing as well. Yeah, having a ritual that represents the start and end of the day, somebody said, absolutely. Someone's also mentioned meeting colleagues every Monday for a walk. Highlight of the week, yes. I love getting outside and seeing different faces in real life, so important. I've also mentioned a couple of things here about like scheduling and managing workload, because I think that can be kind of important. It can be important, especially say if you're sharing working from home with someone else and you're sharing like the same space. You could schedule a work day if you can. Say one person can take the room in the morning, someone else in the afternoon, to make it easier to schedule things like video calls or phone calls. Or even just prioritizing most challenging tasks first. Getting those off your plate can really give you a better sense of accomplishment, more energy, satisfaction throughout the day. But I also want to mention not kind of over scheduling yourself. So including breaks is really important. So building in lunch breaks, whether you meet your husband in the kitchen for lunch, or go out and meet somebody, drink your coffee, have a picnic, socially distance in the park. Having tea breaks, even slacking off, breaks for slacking off. There can be a sense of having to show you're working all the time when you're working from home. But if you've agreed what works to be done, rather than just being present, having time to actually relax and do other things is really important. So check your social media, have a cup of tea, go for a walk, chat with your colleagues, like do all the things that you would normally do at work. And when it comes to managing your workload, you might find kind of scheduling your workday to be quite difficult if you get lots of emails, lots of requests to do other tasks or help out on other tasks that you've not planned time for. So you might want to manage your workload to sort of include maybe an hour or two each day where you respond to these emails and respond to these requests. And then that leaves you with a more realistic time to spend on the rest of you doing your own projects. So maybe you've got a better idea and you're not sort of over scheduling yourself. But trying to keep the boundaries of these times firm can be quite important, because that helps you know when to say no to requests that you don't have time for. So it can be surprisingly difficult to say no to people just because we can't think of a good enough reason to say no. But when we think of their needs, we might see ourselves as a really great answer for them. But saying yes to them means saying no to ourselves and what we need, whether that is a proper lunch hour away from our desk, saying no to a nice walk after work, no to a tea break, no to getting your to-do list completed. So whatever the challenge, do realise that saying no to the time drains that you didn't plan for often means saying yes to a better work-life balance. Someone's got clearing off their desk or their kitchen table completely at the end of the day. That's a good idea of delineating that space. Organising meetups and activities at weekends. Yes, there's an actual difference between the weekends and work days. Yes, don't work on the weekends if you don't have to. Have a real weekend, even though there's nowhere to go. That'll help delineate that time, and it helps your body just relax and de-stress from work as well. And get a bit of variety if you can. At home, it's so easy to get caught in the cycle of doing the same thing day in, day out. So yeah, get varieties at the weekends. Now think about the variety as well that you'd normally have in the office on a work day, you know, the different spaces, the different people, the different encounters. So do try and schedule in activities kind of during the week as well. Get a good variety in your day between who you talk to, what you do in your free time, when you do your work, can really help improve this experience. So these might seem like quite obvious or simple things to do, but to be honest, even though I know that a good routine and having a work-life balance is really good for me, I have to say there's been a lot of times when I have not prioritised my well-being in this way. So I would really encourage you to take a critical look at your current work from home practice and ask yourself, am I really making choices that are good for my mental health each day? Or am I prioritising work or prioritising other people's needs before my own? So the one that we've all been waiting for, seeing our colleagues. So I realise I'm quite short of time, so I've spent too much time talking. So I'll try and get as much through this as we can, so we've still got a bit of time for everyone to ask questions. So obviously when we're in the office, I've suggested some of the things that I miss in the office, but we do get to physically seeing people. You know, they're not just like a wee green or a red or an amber dot on their screen. You know, we can have these random catch-ups. We can see if someone's struggling, we can support each other, we can motivate each other. So important. So how can we get some of this when we're working from home? Let me know what you do. I like how people have got their lunches or sociable lunches or meetups or different activities. A few things that I would suggest, if you're missing that atmosphere of being in office, just where there's like lots going on, things happening, that maybe that keeps you really motivated. Playing music or background noise while you're working can be really helpful. It might seem a bit odd at first. You might want to listen to music that matches the energy of the project you're working on. Video game soundtracks, really good for this. In the game itself, this lyric-free music is designed to help you focus. So it makes sense that we help you focus on your work as well. But on the other hand, other people like chatter in the background, like podcasts or even the History Channel. I had somebody who used to study with that loved having like Ancient Aliens on in the background, like that was their jam when they were getting work done. So whatever works for you. And if you're missing the human interaction more, work often when we're at work, our interactions aren't actually about work. And that's probably what we're missing most when we're working from home. You know, we have the temptation to use virtual spaces and video calls to meet up to talk about work stuff or have work meetings, but actually meeting your colleagues online for tea breaks or lunch breaks so you don't miss out on that social interaction can be helpful. But of course, if you're having a bit of Zoom fatigue, phone calls, just voice calls, also work perfectly fine. But just give us that sense, these small interactions give us more of that sense of belonging and partnership and like we're part of something bigger that we miss when we're working remotely. You can even leave your voice chat open just generally when you're working. It can be a bit odd at first, but just hearing those little things like a dog barking or somebody yawning can really help with that feeling of disconnection. Yeah, don't always rely on text. Instant messaging or email, do try and speak on phone, but you know, don't always Zoom if you don't have to. You know, even having, so someone had mentioned organising activities. This could be virtual events, Netflix viewing parties. Do love a bit of that. You can all watch the shows synced across every screen, so you can all pause it at the same time, things like that. Playing online video games. And if you're still struggling, you know, these are obviously some really great, really helpful ideas, but if you still feel like you're really struggling, got some resources for you to have a quick look at, or you know, if you want to talk to somebody, a professional, therapy is a great way to ask for help. You know, it's okay to not manage things by yourself. You don't have to be really distressed to access things like therapy. It can just give you a really great tool to reflect and talk about some of the things that are bothering you, or even talking to a manager. It could be helpful if it's your workload or managing your workload that you're really needing help with. So all of these resources are available on our website. So if you don't have to try and copy them down right now, you can get them on our website under the News and Events tab. I'm just aware of the time. I know some people are going to have to start leaving, so let me know if you've got any questions. I'll leave this up just now if anyone does want to note anything down. My email address is on there, so if you've got any questions that I don't get time for, do email them to me. Like, I would love to still answer them. So if there's anything else that would help, somebody suggested going for a walk whilst on the phone to a colleague. Yeah, that helps. I like that. So somebody's asked, I find it difficult to make myself heard over Zoom, and I'm often overpowered by those who speak louder than me. How do I overcome this? So one of the problems with Zoom and other video conferencing apps is that we can often, we interpret people's body language or facial cues when they want to interrupt or make a point, or we cannot interpret those. And when there's like a lag in audio, or somebody's audio quality is really bad, it's easier to talk over them. It's much just more difficult to hear them. So hopefully you and your colleagues haven't become so feral while being out of the office that manners are completely forgotten, and that if someone is talking, you do try and wait for them to finish, or you politely ask to interrupt. Lots of video conferencing apps have like a raise hand function or something similar, or you can just use like a literal card that's like, I want to ask a question, or you can message in group chats and things like that. But if you find that people are still speaking over you, it can be helpful to ask whoever's facilitating the meeting to set some ground rules at the start. So just enabling everyone to make a valuable contribution for the meeting to be more productive and more inclusive. Facilitating is a skill, and it is a really important role. So you might make the suggestion like you only use the raise hand function if people want to interrupt, or having more structured meetings where everyone gets a chance to speak before the floor is kind of open for comments and questions. So that can put people more at ease if meetings are really well facilitated, or you've got really good, clear ground rules. It puts people more at ease, feel more comfortable that what they have to say is valued. They'll get an equal opportunity to contribute. But I hope that answered your question. If it's not, let me know, and I'll see if I can think of anything else useful. If you do want to learn more about any of the stuff that we've talked about today, do check out the handouts. And other than all the other information that's on the First Psychology News and Events page. So that is everything finally for the presentation side of things. Sorry it's ran on a wee bit, but hopefully I have answered some of your questions. If there's anything else you want to know, my email address is at the bottom of this slide, so do email me. I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm sorry we've just run out of time. Do get in touch. You will get a survey at the end. So if you can give us some feedback on how this has gone for you, that would be really helpful, and you'll get a follow-up email within 24 to 48 hours with a link to view a recording of today's webinar. So, and all the handouts will be available on the website as well. So if you want to rewatch it or just remind yourself of anything that we've talked about, you can certainly do that. Or if you're watching this recorded, do go onto the website and check out the handouts. The next webinar will be in 2 weeks' time. We're talking about staying connected during lockdown, and then after that we've got a webinar on coping with seasonal affective disorder, or the winter blues, and we also have our final one in the first week of December is on how to have a merry lockdown Christmas. So we'll be advertising all of these on our social media pages, and you can register through our website. So on behalf of First Psychology Scotland and myself, thanks for joining me today. Thank you so much for all your comments. It was really great to hear about what everyone was doing and have a chance to share that with everyone. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.